You have to understand that dogs are pack animals, and out in nature and in the wild, they would be sleeping with their pack. So you can imagine the kind of emotional anxiety that they get if a dog was to be kicked outside to sleep in the cold by themselves at night. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm May and this is my Pagalia Sky, and we create content for fur parents new, seasoned and to be. So after a year of puppy ownership, I thought that I would share my accumulated puppy knowledge with you. And a question that I often see is debated online is whether you should allow your puppy to sleep with you on the bed. So in today's video, I'm going to tackle that very question. I'll give you guys the pros, the cons, and let you know the decision that we ended up making with Sky. So without further ado, let's dive on into the video. Alright, let's start with the pros, because you know, I'm a fairly positive person and I like to talk about positive things. So we'll get the pros out of the way. Huge pro number one is comfort and relaxation or soothingness. For those of you out there who are new to fur parenting or don't have a fur baby, let me tell you, having your dog sleep with you on the bed is the most calming and relaxing thing ever. So hearing your little fur ball gently breathe at night, the sound of their heart beating, it's just super calming and super soothing. And you know, after a really busy and a really long and tiring day at work, it's honestly just what the doctor ordered. My next pro is warmth. So I get cold pretty easily and I'm not very good at regulating my own body temperature. So it's super nice when you have another being there that is super soft, super warm, that you can snuggle up to under the blankets. And what Sky often does is that she crawls up onto my pillow, does a little paw tap dance, and then she plops herself right on top of my head. And we used to always joke that, you know, it's like a head warmer or a head scarf. So yeah, really big pro, they're pretty warm. All right, my next big pro item that I wanted to mention was that it actually is really good for the dog too. So you have to understand that dogs are pack animals, and out in nature and in the wild, they would be sleeping with their pack. So you can imagine the kind of emotional anxiety that they get if a dog was to be kicked outside to sleep in the cold by themselves at night. And you, as a human who have adopted a fur baby into your family and into your household, become part of their pack. So letting your dog sleep with you is not only natural for them and their pack mentality and instincts, but it also kind of decreases the probability that you're going to create anxiety and stress by kicking them out. The next big pro is that it builds a really strong bond and relationship with your puppy or your dog. Like I said before, they're pack animals. So by sleeping together and sharing resources and keeping each other warm, it builds just a really strong bond with your dog. Okay, and the next thing that I wanted to mention as one of my really big pros, and I'm going to chuck it in there because it is very true, but the cuteness factor. Because honestly guys, and I speak the truth here, when you're in bed and you see your fur baby curled up on the sheets, it is the cutest thing ever. It's like awe factor 10,000. And then watching their eyes slowly droop and then nuzzling into the blankets, you can't replace that cuteness. Like no one's gonna be that cute. Your puppy and your dog will be that cute. But you get the point. Cuteness overload, definitely a pro on my list. So the next pro that I'm going to list out on my positivity list is that you'll be starting your day and ending your day the right way. So what I mean by this is that when you wake up in the morning, your fur baby is the absolute first thing that you'll see. And with Sky, when I wake up in the morning, she's just staring at me with her wagging tail. And I can just see the look in the eyes like, good morning, where's my food? But it's honestly one of the best things to wake up to. You feel just happy. And what I mean by she's the last thing, or they're the last thing that you're going to see when you go to bed at night is, you know, like I said, she curls up next to me when I sleep and when she sleeps, and just being next to them, being able to end the day on such a calming, peaceful note is something that you can't replace. And this will happen every single day without fail, because dogs are loyal. Dogs will always be happy to see you. So yeah, major pro in my books, waking up and going to bed on the right note each and every day. So the last thing that I wanted to mention on my pro list, and it might not apply to everyone, but I have seen it in discussions quite often where people say that letting your dog or puppy sleep on the bed with you could damage, or it could interfere with your relationship with your partner. Now, the reason I put this on the pro list is because I think it's the exact opposite. Like, completely, 100%, that is not true. Well, at least from my experience. And like I said, I'm here to share my experience with you guys so that you can get some different perspectives. So what I've seen is that by letting Sky sleep on the bed with us, it's actually done the opposite. It's strengthened our relationship. So being together in the same bed makes you feel a sense of family. And honestly, we treat Sky like she's literally our child. And when she dozes off on the bed and we're both still awake, we kind of point out and say, look at this, look at that. And we take 10 million photos. But when you have those moments of just pointing it out and you just giggle together, and it creates a lighthearted atmosphere, and like I said, you're just creating memories together as a family, and it only strengthens the relationship. So these are all of my positive pro kind of points. Let's move on now to my negative Nancy hat and list out some of the not so great things or the opposing arguments to whether you should let your dog sleep on the bed. Okay, so one of the biggest cons that I often see people citing is hygiene. That it's not very hygienic to have your puppy or dog up on the bed. And yes, dogs do get up to some dirty business. Rolling in the mud, in the dirt, in the grass, digging at your pot plant. But I did want to mention that you should evaluate your own personal circumstance. Let me give you an example. Sky. She is an indoor dog, clearly, and we live in a townhouse apartment kind of complex, which means she has no access to a garden or grass. And then when we do take her outside on walks and she's playing around in the grass and outside, when we come home, we wipe her down and wipe all of her paws. So there really isn't much dirt left, if any at all. And then the other thing to note is her coat. So because she is a short-haired Puggalia that sheds quite a lot, not very much sticks to her fur. Most of the yucky gunky items just fall right off. So relatively speaking, Sky is actually quite clean. But then on the other end of the spectrum, say if you had a larger dog, you had a dog that had access to grass, to dirt, to a garden that they freely go in and out of the house from. And you know, they have a long coat, so their coat is picking up everything as it goes along and it gets tangled in their coat. Then I would say, yeah, sure, maybe that kind of dog might not be the cleanest, and you might not want that in your bed or your bedroom. So when it comes to hygiene as a con, I definitely do think that it's something that you have to evaluate, but it's something that you need to look at from your own personal circumstance and determine for yourselves whether you think you have a fairly clean or a fairly, you know, dirty pup. All right, the next con on my list is allergies. Now, this is quite a concern because obviously if you are sensitive and prone to allergies, hay fever, and all that not so great stuff, then yeah, most likely you don't really want to have a dog in your bed and rolling around because you need to put your health first. But as I said before with the previous con, you need to look at your own personal circumstance. If you are, or if you do have a higher tendency to get hay fever, you're very sensitive, then yeah, don't do it. But if, you know, you're not prone to those kind of symptoms, then it's up to you to make that decision. If you have a dog that doesn't shed, is this really a concern? I'm just gonna highlight that for you, so something that you need to think about. All right, the next thing I wanted to mention was sleep disruption. So for all of you out there who are fur parents to be and you haven't lived with a fur baby just yet, you're not gonna know this, but dogs will wake up at the crack of dawn. Like as soon as they see rays hitting the horizon, they will wake up. it's just natural for them. It's in their biology. And most humans out there probably don't wake up at the crack of dawn. Some of them do, but the majority probably not. But with all of that being said, you can train them out of it, because that is exactly what we did with Sky. We actually trained her not to wake up at the crack of dawn, but to wait for us to wake up. Then she can wake up. So what we've trained her to do is to wake up at around 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. rather than, 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. in the morning. So just bear that in mind. Yeah, they wake up at the crack of dawn, but definitely trainable to get them to wake up a little bit later. And then the last thing I wanted to mention under, I guess, the point of sleep disruption is that your puppy or your dog won't actually just sleep in one spot. What I found was they do tend to move sleeping positions, and their sleep cycles are very different from human sleep cycles. So they might get up in the middle of the night and just, walk around on the bed and then plop down somewhere else. Now, this is a concern if you are a light sleeper and you wake up very easily. Then keep that in mind. You might not have a very peaceful sleep because they do move about in the middle of the night. Okay, the next negative Nancy point is separation anxiety. And because your dog sleeps with you all throughout the night, and then in the morning you have to rush and get out the door to work, that might not be the best emotionally for your dog, where you just suddenly disappear after spending the whole night with them. It just makes it a little bit harder for them to see you go. And I wanted to also mention that, you have to be particularly aware of this if you have separation anxiety prone breeds like Sky. It's something that you need to know, but it's still definitely something, like I said before, you can train, you can improve on, because that's exactly what we've done with Sky. We've just trained her to be less anxious when we leave. And the last negative Nancy point on my list is resource guarding. This is a point that I've seen other people mention before, that perhaps as your pup gets older and they become an adult dog, they start to resource guard the bed. However, from our experience with Sky, that's never really been an issue. But again, I do have to mention to you guys that we did put a lot of effort and a lot of time into training her. So for example, to get her better with not being so territorial with the house and also with the bed, is I used to often take care of my friends' dogs, and they would sleep over at night, so we would all be sharing the same resources. And Sky did this from about maybe 4 or 5 months of age. It wasn't every single day, but once every 2 months we would offer to look after one of our friends' dogs, get them to come over, and that really helps with decreasing the probability that they're going to resource guard and be very territorial with where they live. So whilst it hasn't been an issue for Sky, I did want to highlight this because I have seen some dogs that do resource guard. It is a possibility, you just need to be aware of it. Alrighty, in conclusion, as you guys could probably already tell, we let Sky sleep on the bed with us. My personal opinion, I think it's okay to let your dog sleep on the bed with you, but you do need to be aware of some of the cons and put in place measures and practices to kind of minimize them, tackle them, and just make sure that they don't become a really bad issue. But the decision is completely up to you as a fur parent. Only you know exactly what your circumstances are, what your family is like, what your routine is like. So I have laid out all of the pros and all of the cons that I think that you should consider, but the ultimate decision lies with you. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you let your puppy or your dog sleep on your bed with you at night or not. If you guys like the video, don't forget to pull the thumbs up and also hit the subscribe button so that you can see more fur baby related videos. And don't forget to tap that notification bell so that you don't miss out on our next upload. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or you just want to start a conversation, please head on over to our Instagram at OneSuckSky, follow and DM us. Bye for now, but we'll see you in the next one. Boop. Oh, yes, made it in time before my battery died. Insanity. Boop. Step boop.